Kitchener Community School is located in the heart of Regina. It is located at 840 Athol Street, which for those of you who don't know is kind of right between, down from Toys R Us and in behind Red Lobster and close to the Kinsman Arena. We have about 260 kids, ranging from pre-K to grade 8, and a teaching staff of approximately 10 classroom teachers. It's a fabulous place to be with a phenomenal staff. And everything is student-centered and learning-centered, and to make the better all-around person, because we know that your mental health and your spiritual health and your physical health and your emotional health all go one hand in hand and are tied together. So our goal is to help develop that well-rounded individual and extend that within to our community. So it's a pretty cool place to be. So as far as the facility itself goes, the gym is obviously fairly old, and as you will have a chance and have the girls have seen the supply room or the phys ed equipment room, there isn't a lot that's there. We actually just had to send an email out to our high schools across the city because we were in need of basketballs for our teams to practice with in order to make sure we had enough and have basketballs that actually bounce. And so there was a strong reaction to that, and we were able to get enough basketballs to have our teams, each child on the team, each player be able to have one. The space is small, so as far as what's in there, there's a handful of sticks, there's a handful of hoops, not a lot of equipment for the younger kids to use. And not enough equipment, enough of anything for an entire class to use. So it works well for circuits if you have small groups, but if you wanted to do something with an entire group, we often find teachers are purchasing things with their own budgets, from home personal budgets, in order to be able to do things in the gym with their students. And in comparison to buildings that I've been at, I mean, I was in a high school and I was in a suburban school with a large equipment room, and where anything and everything you needed was there, and whatever you didn't have was funded or purchased by your SCC, your school community council. So that's not always a luxury that we have, and you know, people make the best with what they do here, but certainly the equitable opportunities for our kids as far as the equipment that's there and the programming that's there is not quite up to par. Simply because of the funding piece, and we want to make sure we put our funding into learning and our literacy and our numeracy and our equitable opportunities. So this is kind of a nice cause to be able to give to.
So what I have seen at Kitchener, I coach many sports teams here. I coach volleyball and basketball, softball, and I also do track as well. With volleyball, we don't have, I guess, the right amount of volleyballs to actually run a practice. We don't even have actual game balls for our games here. Our volleyball net is way too high for what is appropriate, I guess, for age groups. Our baseball equipment is well, I bring my own, like I run a softball team as well, like out of school time, so I bring most of my equipment from home, like the bats, and I have a bunch of extra balls. We did have helmets and back catchers equipment here, which was nice to start a softball team, but to not have any bats and stuff, like I don't know if teachers around the school do softball or play softball with their classes, but there wouldn't be sufficient equipment to play if they were going to. You know, our equipment's so limited that it'd be tough to teach phys ed at our school. You know, like I was in there a couple times and I've, you know, took over a few of the classes and stuff, and like you can't, like it's so limited. You know, I came from a high school teaching phys ed, and there's so much equipment, it's endless, you know, like gym mats, we have probably 3 of those gym mats within our school. So our kids don't get any like gymnastics our kids don't get any like combative things or anything like that. Like our little ones, like teaching gymnastics is huge for that, like those little guys. Like learning how to fall, learning how to do rolls, stuff like that. Doesn't happen. Impossible.
With regards to accessibility to equipment, with regards to sporting equipment at the school, we're quite limited actually in our supplies. Lots of the supplies that we have right now are second-hand supplies or supplies that we've had for quite a few years with throughout the school here as well. As a community school, we do have access to additional funds. However, most of those funds have to go to support students in other ways beyond physical activity experiences. So that's one of the areas that we're not able to provide as much funding for our students. When you have a population that is kind of middle, we're sitting at about 250 students, but that changes over quite frequently with regards to students moving to a different school or moving in order to provide quality equipment to all of those students, you would be looking at closer to 500 students throughout the course of a year that would need access to quality equipment and supplies. So we have a very small little equipment room right now that our students have access to, and we have the basics. We have the basics of what you would expect to see in an elementary school, and even from there I would say that's probably even reduced a little bit more than what you'd see in other schools. I have worked in 6 other elementary schools, and I would have to say that the equipment that our students have access to is greatly reduced in not only the quantity but also the quality of the equipment that they have. So my one wish would be for equitable opportunities for our students, so that every student that comes through the door of any school within Regina Public School Division has the same kind of experience and opportunities and access to equipment and supplies. Whether you are living in South End Regina, East End Regina, or you're living in North Central, you should have an entitlement to access to quality equipment and supplies. Same for the environment. The environment should be one where students want to walk in and feel like they're going to be successful, and this is a great place to be, and aren't I lucky to be a part of that? And that shouldn't be something that's rare, and that shouldn't be something that's different from school to school to school based on where your family has chosen to live, in which community that may be. So at the end of the day, what do I want? I want for my kids to experience the same opportunities and the same accessibility that any other student in Regina may have access to.